Hi there, my name is Wade Murray. Welcome to the Great Green North podcast, the podcast where we talk about everything about lawns with a Canadian twist. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode. All right, so welcome to the April edition of the Great Green North podcast. My name is Wade Murray, and with us this week we have Dallas. He lives out on the east coast of Canada, and he's a fan. And reached out. We started kind of talking, had some lawn chats, and figured might as well get on here and talk about Canadian lawn care for a few hours for all of you for the April edition of the Great Green North podcast. So, Dallas, how are you doing?
Couldn't be better, right? And thanks for having me on. So I was excited for getting my first mow underway down here in Atlantic Canada. So once that's underway and the season has officially started, I mean, I can't really complain.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we had talked. We haven't had the video hasn't been out yet, but I did get my first mow done as well. I actually had the second mow done yesterday, this week. So things definitely seem to be picking up. It seems like the lawn season's finally coming around. So without further ado, why don't we get into the update segment? We'll talk about what's going on in my lawn. But before we talk about my lawn, let's talk about Dallas's lawn. So what do you got going out there? What kind of lawn do you have kicking around?
Yeah, so me and my wife bought this house in 2020, so kind of right in pandemic time, and we inherited, I mean, I didn't do the exact, but it was everywhere's close to, 30% turf and the rest of just a good old healthy salad, right?
Yeah.
Dandelion farm. So it was out of those borderline decisions. What do you do? Do you start fresh? And I had a neighbor, God rest his soul, is no longer here. He was the original king of this neighborhood. And he used to come on and he said, you know what? You can get there. You can get this back to, like you talk about, like 80, 85%. Let's get her cut low and let's do a no receipt. So that's what I started with. So I got obviously a traditional Atlantic Canada mix of rye and Kentucky, basically mixture in the front yard and the same in the back. So it was a journey. We started with Fiesta, and we started trying it early in the spring, getting that weeds under control and really giving my turf a chance to grow and get some sunlight. And through I did an overseed in the spring and again in the fall, perhaps a little bit aggressive, and just really get into understanding more about what my soil needed, and just going from the throwing some stuff down a couple times a year at the holidays to really kind of understand, okay, what does my soil really need? What's it saying to me? So over that time, over that journey, took the lawn from needing a lot of work to one that certainly gets a lot of attention. So, now I guess where we're at is, once you've achieved that, and you got the nicest kind of lawn on the street, that extra 5 or 10%, takes some extra work. So now I'm trying to say, okay, how do you make a really, really good lawn great? Right. So that's where I'm at now.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And then I guess if you started in 2020, you probably stumbled upon that was when Greek Green North started. So somewhere around that time, either last year or the year prior, you stumbled upon us, and then I guess that helped you from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because there's lots of stuff, like there's some stuff, but nothing I found that was really geared towards what our unique challenges are and what we, how creative we have to be, and really work that turf. And so when I started watching your show and seeing what you were doing, actually, you were put me on to Grow Forge again. So another good Canadian company, and I've really, really enjoyed their products and working with the guys. Like you said about customer service, I can certainly attest to that. So that was the first thing. And then, you introduced me to Fiesta too, which was, a godsend. Just really being sitting there and saying, how am I going to, obviously without any 2,4-D or, speed zone or anything like that, how I was going to get this under control. So that was really the, that iron based Fiesta really helped me. So yeah, so your site and your YouTube channel and now your podcast is something I like because it is unique. It is unique. There's no such thing as warm season grass up here. It's like cold or real cold season grass. But yeah, it's nice to have someone who really kind of understands what we're facing up here and who's able to, have a nice lawn despite not being able to use any herbicides or pesticides.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and I think me and you were talking too. Even the growing season challenges because our growing season up here can be so short. You know, by the time the spring's done and you hit that point of stress in the summer, now you're already kind of skipping into getting ready for fall renovation. By Canada Day, if you don't have a decent amount of your renovation planned out for the fall, it's not happening. You got to start, especially with all the COVID stuff, nothing's in stock anymore. You got to start making sure I got grass seed and fertilizer and everything stockpiled in my basement just in case, I can't go out to the store and get it. But
Yeah.
yeah, just because and that we don't really get going here till about early May. This year's early for us. We had a big warm spell for a week there, it teased us. But then once we get going, it's right into it. You got about a month before that heat comes, and then down here in Southern Ontario, we'll be by May 2-4 weekend, we're looking at 35 degrees with, humidex. I'm assuming you guys probably get the humidity out there being on the coast as well. And
Absolutely.
that's really what kills you, right? That's just the breeding ground for disease and all that. And that kills me too because I hate humidity. I would rather it just be hot, desert hot than hot and humid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it just, you get through just when you feel you've got through the worst of the dandelion season, that heat kind of comes out, right? So
Yeah.
I find that, the early on you get through that, and if the neighbors are not treating, obviously there's that constant pressure, and then you watch them mature and just start just spreading spores left and right. You can see count them
Yeah.
by the hundreds flowing into your yard, and it's just like, all the good intentions. But yeah, summers, yeah, we definitely get hot summers. It's I find the last 5 or 10 years that we're seeing more fluctuations, right? So more severe swings, one way or the other. So that's something that you have to be aware of. And I don't have any irrigation, so but just being cognizant is, hey, can I get at least one good watering down per week and give it a good, even during those dry seasons, and that doesn't make the water bill spike too much, right? Because you can get kind of addicted to that water. You see it and everybody else is brown, and it's tempting to throw a little water on, right? But I try to be a little disciplined with that, right? Because get a little look sometimes from the neighbors when it hasn't rained in a couple of weeks and you're constantly watering, right? So I'm trying to be respectful, but at the end of the day, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, still I pay for the water too, right? So I don't mind putting a little, if I choose to use mine to take care of the yard. I don't think as long as it's within reason, I don't think that's a bad thing by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's watering restrictions in some municipalities. I know a couple of municipalities over from us, it's evens and odds. A lot of times in the summer, so even numbers can water on even days and odd numbers can water on odd days. But I mean, like you got to make it work. If there's not a lot to go around, as you said, be respectful, make it work. But in the end, yeah, especially I know those golf course superintendents as well. They live and die on how much water goes on that course.
Mm-hmm.
And if they can't get the water, then I mean, as I think Ryan DeMay mentioned it on the last Turfcast podcast, anybody and their uncle can grow grass in April when it's pouring rain, and anybody and their uncle can grow grass in September. But if you can grow grass in the middle of July, that's when you know you're a true golf course superintendent right there. You got some skill.
That's that karate. Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
no joke if you can pull that off.
I always like too when he says that pick 4 months out of the year that you want your lawn to look nice, and I'll give you a grass type that can make it look nice in those 4 months of the year. Because it's so
Right?
true. It is true.
It
Your lawn
absolutely
will,
is. And it's sad to think about, like, just getting started, but it is in the blink of an eye. You look at, 8 weeks out what it starts to look like, and it can be an early. So I'm not thinking about it though. I'm not thinking that way. I'm just going to enjoy the moment right now. I'm going to be present in the moment. I'm just I'm trying to be okay with walking out there and seeing a lot of the snow mold damage and seeing the winter kill and seeing the patches and seeing the salt and the sand from the plows and just the damage and just I don't know, maybe every year I haven't documented a good enough, you know, pictures of what it looks like every year. But every year I'm like, man, this looks terrible, and I can't believe it's so bad this year. And the
Yeah.
conditions for snowball were just perfect, and that warm and that freezing and that moisture underneath, and you just see that moisture up there percolating and growing. And but you get those like those just white kind of clumps, and you're like, there's no grass coming up here right away, right? So you're try to stir it up a little bit with not causing too much damage, and you don't want to get left behind. So it's an interesting balance sometime. But yeah, it's just I keep telling myself it's just like, what's my goals for the end of May? Where
Yeah.
do I want to be? The long weekends, what are the goals right now? Like I can fix up a few problem areas. Everything will green up naturally. This is just I just got to be patient. Um, but it's just you get impatient, right? Because you get there, and I'm just so it'll be nice. I can't wait. There's no better feeling way than when you finish a nice double cut and you
Yeah.
sit back on the patio and you look out and it's just a job well done. I mean, obviously there's not even a blade. You've got your trimming done, whether or not how far edging you've done, and it's just like it's a work of art. You sit down, you're like, you know what? Some fine craftsmen put
Yeah.
that work
Yeah.
together, right?
Yeah.
You drive
Exactly.
by to see the people slowing down the street, you're like, that's right.
Yeah.
Sharp blades.
And then for me, I go on and step on top of that, where they drive by and they see the beautiful grass, and then they see me either flying the drone, taking pictures of it, or
Oh
me
yeah,
talking to
exactly.
myself, filming videos, and they go, "That guy's clinically insane. He needs to go somewhere."
They understand nowadays, I think, right? Because they're like, yeah,
Yeah.
that yard's too nice. He's got to
Yeah.
get that online somewhere. Spread the good word.
Well, that's what you gotta do. You gotta start some video documentation of your grass, and
Oh,
then you can remember next year. That's what I do sometimes. I go back and go, "What was going on last year?" I look at videos. I go, "Oh yeah, I remember that. That was bad. It looks way better than that."
I know, and I'm just gonna listen in and to yours and stuff like that, and being after. Maybe I'm just. I think you guys got a little more creative energy in your youth than me, but I've always wanted to do something. It's just like kind of getting the time, getting the. I'm old and getting the
Oh yeah.
setup and stuff, and I'd be on mute the whole time, and my teenage daughters would be embarrassed and stuff. So I'm like, I'm just gonna, if it's okay, I'm gonna stay behind the scenes a little bit. But I would like to because there's just so much there's so much knowledge to be had out there, and there's just like people I think even though that's perhaps the initial flush with COVID and stuff like that, I still think that there's a lot of people that are looking at that as more of more in that hobby vein than have traditionally. And you're right, like how can this hour both be enjoyable for me and also lead to a nice quality product at the end. But like, what can I use this as like my time?
Oh
Right. So I
yeah.
think
And
when people start to look at it like that, then they're like, okay, if I'm going to go out here and this is my time, I'm going to get used to that time. So, and then the bug bites them, and they're trying to figure out what kind of app to lay down, right?
yeah, and I was talking to oh the for the people, the viewers that don't know, I the turf is not my full-time gig. I'm a carpenter. I build decks and outdoor living spaces for people, and I was selling jobs, and the jobs have become crazy busy in the last since COVID. And I was talking to a customer about how I think a lot of people during COVID, they lost their, well, they had a lot of money, but they lost their vacations, and all that money that they spent on vacations got directed to their house. And now some people have maybe realized, like, the things that are kind of more important to them that they never really thought before. They've slowed down with work a little bit, and they've taken do a new deck, got focused on the grass, new gardens. I can definitely see it around my neighborhood. There's lots of people
Yeah.
that put more work into their lawn, or their yard that they ever had. They lived in that house for 15 years and all they did was cut the grass. And all of a sudden during COVID, they started fertilizing. And as you said, it takes that one
Right.
little thing to get you in that door. And then next thing you know, it just takes off from there. You want to keep going and keep going. Or even the people who tried it and they go, you know what, this isn't for me, but I'm going to get someone to take care of this. And that was the final push for them to actually go hire a company.
Absolutely. And for many
Because I
people, that makes a
always,
lot of sense, right? Hey, if you know, 800,000 bucks, you get them come in, do a couple loads, they'll do some of your, yeah, like I can definitely see how that would be of value to a lot of people. Not for me necessarily. It's not part of like my that experience for me, but yeah, I know that there's a lot of people in, you know, obviously the long game, you see lots of guys, and I know I got my start in the entrepreneurial world for that. And I know lots of people, you know, whether in various age and stages, you know, rely on the gas and stuff like that, and that's how they're feeding their families and stuff. And but for me, I guess, you know, for my, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, okay, so like, you know, what is the next level? I start to think about, okay, so like, what does the next evolution of this, you know, what I'm doing down here? And obviously, you know, the front yards is a heavily sloped. I haven't thought about it, but you know, obviously that hanging right there is like, well, do you want to think about going to a real mow? And obviously there'd be a lot of going into that about slowly bringing it down. About I'd really have to do a lot of work of leveling. Like I've obviously, you worked on a golf course. I've used and familiar with the real mowers, and I could definitely handle myself pretty well with that. So it's not the commitment of getting in there and, you know, doing the mowing every second day. I'm mowing every second day anyway, usually at least my front, right? But it's just like it's the thing that I guess scares me is I can find my way around, you know, a Honda GCV, and I can do the maintenance, and I don't really need anybody if you just, you know, take care of that inch. But like finding someone to sharpen and backlap and all the things that go into having a real
reel the
mower,
bed
and
knife
just like that's the
adjustments
thing.
and
Yeah, that's the thing that scares me is like I don't even know if I can't do it myself, and I don't know if I can find someone at BCC's. Like, what would you do if you're like, well, look, man, it's going to be a week?
yeah,
You know, what do I do then?
yeah. That's when you got to end up like Connor. You got to take apart your entire reel mower like Connor Ward did, and then put it all back together again.
I seen that, and I'd absolutely be able to take it apart, no
Yeah,
problem. Okay,
yeah.
but going
I
back
just
to
can't put it
back
back together.
together and it functioning the way it should, and yeah, I'm not gonna just you got to know what your limitations are, and I guess I'm not there yet, but it always is. Obviously, you see them, and you know it does like make a beautiful cut, and you know you could look at short grass versus long grass, and I keep mine longer certainly than most, right? And I especially, you know, when the temperature's at a point where it makes a lot of sense. But so like I'm at the top height of most of my mowers, so I'm at least, you know, 3.75 to 4 inches, which
Or
starts to get
yeah,
a little long, right? So it
yeah,
starts to lay down a little bit. So I'll drop that down to 3.5. But so like depending on where I'm at. So that's still quite a long way from 0.75. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it
yeah,
would take me a year to get down where I didn't have to like scalp that. And then what I find is just like the amount of leveling that it would really take to make that smooth and have that roller go across there good. I guess I don't know. I guess it would be an investment in time, and it would be a commitment. And it just like I already think I'm already pushing it sometimes with my wife and stuff at home with the way it is.
yeah,
I'm just if I throw that in there, it'd be like she'd be like, forget this. I'm
yeah.
done. No more sandwiches for you. You're out.
Well, I thought about that with my side yard. I thought because I'm going to do a full renovation this year, I thought about doing some leveling and putting a reel mower on it and seeing what I could do. But again, I mean, it's so much. It's so much, and then you got to focus on plant growth regulators and all the other
Yeah.
things that come involved with that. And yeah, it's a lot of work. And for someone who works as well, this isn't their full time gig. Yeah, it can be a little daunting, definitely, to go that way.
And then
Well,
if you have to mow or you have to top dress, like that's a lot of material, right? I remember looking
yeah,
at it, it's like, okay, what does a yard of topsoil look like? And I was like, it's like he's gonna need three. And I'm like, 3 yards. It's a whole driveway. What are you gonna do with that, right? And then
yeah,
you see obviously if you got like a sand spreader and
yeah,
you just roll along like a boss, everybody's happy, right? But if you're out slinging that shovel around, and then, obviously you got a leveling rake and stuff, but then even that still, if you got some bumpy ground, like that's only you're gonna smother some grass. So it's just like it's a little bit daunting to see and getting the right mixture and getting that sand. But it's something that I'm going to have to do eventually, but I've just been kind of hesitant because I keep coming out, I check, it's like, okay, check my thatch this spring. And I was like, yeah, it's not so bad. So maybe I won't tear apart things. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll just
yeah.
let this spring get started. If I'm not, if I have a regular amount of thatch, which I think is reasonable, obviously, if it's not too thick, then why, because I do see even people on the street, I'm like, oh, that's aggressive. You got a frost last night, and one of my neighbor friends of mine is cutting her low, and I think he fertilized and then he dethatched. I'm like, that's aggressive, young man. That's
Oh
some
yeah.
aggressive stuff this early in the year with that frost coming and stuff, and not, and obviously it will come back. But anyways, I've done that a few times. I think it's just like again, the first sign of summer, the first everybody's like, I gotta go
Yeah,
fertilize. You know, gotta dethrash, you gotta aerate, gotta just like everything, just like the grass is like, dude, just hold on. Like it was just
yeah.
like we just started yesterday here. Can we like can you give me a little drink here first before you start so you can tear things apart?
One really, what a lot of people don't realize is that like spring is not really the start of the lawn season, right? It's
Yep.
September of the previous year. So when you get into spring, you're kind of in you're coasting to the finish line before you hit that summer stress point. So, I mean, as far as all my like, all the people who know me and they come up and they ask me lawn tips and I get emails about it too, well, what should I do this spring? And last year I messed it
Hmm.
all up. What can I do to make it look good for the summer? And you're like, no, just like get that out of your head. You're not
Hmm.
touching the seed bag this year. Your lawn looks fine. Just start putting down fertilizer and just keep going with the fertilizer, get back into proper mowing habits, and then we can talk about doing renovation late August for you,
Yeah.
getting you good
Yeah.
seed, getting you set up, start spraying, trying to reduce your weed pressure slowly throughout the summer. And then we can get you in a great point for a great renovation in August. That's what I'm doing with my two project lawns. Perfect renovation end of August, and they're going to be looking great by the time Thanksgiving rolls around in October. But as far as we're starting this year, just fertilizer, keep it going slow, and then we'll eventually make it to that point.
Like it. Yeah, that's definitely some good advice. Definitely. I guess the only challenge sometimes is our season sometimes, you can go from, as we know, like freezing cold to like no spring and then to summer.
Yeah,
And then the opposite can happen too. You're like timing out, you're like, okay, you know, first week of September, I've taken off work. I'm gonna do a full reno and stuff, and all of a sudden like it'll snow or something crazy, right? So like
yeah,
there is the best laid plans, and that's what I keep thinking about. Is like talk to people. It's like, okay, you can start with a plan, you can have an idea, and it's just like anything. Like I do some coaching stuff. Is like his ability to adjust in the moment,
yeah,
right? So if you get washed out, your seed gets washed out, or if the weather doesn't cooperate, or if there's something introduced in your end that isn't for us, like that's kind of like the next level. It's like, okay, so I know I planned this out properly. I did the right homework, didn't work. What do I do now?
yeah. And that's a
So
lot of
kind of
time where
just,
some people just give up, right? They go,
yeah,
"Oh, I screwed it all up. It's done. I can't do it," and they just walk away. But you can't,
I'm out.
like, I mean, you gotta keep moving forward. Just because one thing got in your way doesn't mean that this is. I mean, I can grow grass seed. You can grow grass seed. Well, we can grow it because we've done it a whole bunch of times before, and we know the mistakes we've made, and we learn from those mistakes. But if we just gave up and we didn't keep going, then we would have never made it to this point where we know that, oh, it's going to be fine. I'll do this if something bad happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, here we are. It's the end of April. People are going to be starting next. We talked about no mow May. I mean, I
Oh
love this.
yeah.
No mow May. It's like no mow May, no mow today, maybe. But
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like a mow. We're talking about no mow May. I don't even know if the dandy or the bumblebees really like that stuff. It's like after 3 weeks and your straggly old lawn bent over and stuff. Like ain't no bees flying in there.
So
Just
here's
look at
the
that wasteland.
where I
Anyways.
live, the town decided last year that they were going to do no mow May in all of the parks. And I swear, by June 1st, the grass at our local parks are about 2.5 feet tall of weeds. And then they just hacked it down with a zero turn, back
Yeah.
down to 3/4, or back down to, like, 2 and 3/4. And it was just a mess. There was wet grass everywhere. There was clumps, and it was screwed up for the rest of the season. And I really
Yeah.
don't understand, what was the point of that? And you think that that helped. And again, like, even if they started removing all that clipping, because they had so much at once, well, now you're removing all that nitrogen out of your soil, and now the grass is all stunted and looks like crap for the rest of the year, because you just took all that nitrogen from the spring and you just put it in a bag and threw it in the garbage.
Doesn't make much sense. Doesn't make. I think it's like the old placebo effect. Sometimes it just like it, if it feels good. Sometimes for the general population, then hey, guess that maybe that's good enough, and maybe it is. Maybe if people feel like they're contributing and stuff, maybe that's okay too. But
Yeah.
my yard's getting mowed every second day for all of
Oh
May
yeah.
during that
I can't
flush because
sacrifice. I can't sacrifice 1 month of the season, because that's, another month to add to the 4 months in the winter I can't mow.
right.
So I gotta.
Like no shovel January. I'm down with that. Like
Yeah.
we'll figure that out. Like, maybe we'll just work from home a little bit more, but it's like no mow May. Anyways, that's all good. And let them if they don't want to mow, let them know. And for the first couple weeks, but just coming on the end, it's just like you said, and then they cut it, and then the stalks are there, and it's just like you've cut off 80% of
Oh
that
yeah.
shoot, and you're just like, and it's like August, and then then the heat hits it, and then it just like, and then the weed pressure comes, and it's just like, so you're basically just like whatever hope you had of having a nice year. But anyways, hey, if like I said, if someone wants to do it, all the best to them, but not something. I don't know. Like you said, it just doesn't really make sense. If it was actually doing something, was contributing positively, then sure. But really, I just don't see how that's really a good long term strategy at all. Anytime.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, and even going back to what you were talking about, seeding in the spring, uh like, there are people who have to do it, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
people. There's a guy in my neighborhood, he just tore down his house. They rebuilt it last summer. They just finished the outside before the fall. He went through the winter. They just regraded, started his landscaping, and then he was laying 5 pallets of sod in the pouring rain today. I felt very bad for the guy, but I mean, I would love laying sod in the pouring rain too.
Well,
So
I wouldn't mind that. Just stick them
yeah.
together. That's all right. That's good, honest work. You did some work in the old sod. You could get through a day pretty good. And you leave it and
Yeah.
you get that sod in tight. It's like you see accomplishment. You can get a lot done in a day.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, it has to happen. And if it has to happen, give it the good old hard try. Give it your
Mm-hmm.
best. You get put it down early and baby it. You gotta baby it, and you gotta sling fertilizer on that to try to get it as bestly established as you can before that summer heat comes. And you just have to know as well that, I mean, not all of it's gonna last through the summer, and you're going to have some work to do in the fall. to
Yeah.
repair it. Definitely, definitely. And there's unless you have a really wet summer and you get really lucky, there will be some work that you're going to have to do in the
Yeah.
fall to repair it. But an overseed, so if you're going to do a spring seeding, what I would recommend is wait till those temperatures between 8 and 10 degrees, then get your seed, but get double the amount of seed you think you need. And then you're going to put down your seed right away. You're going to let that sit for 14, 21 days. Hopefully you get some germination. You're going to put down your starter fertilizer at the same time you put your seed down. If you're using the Grow Forge liquid, the TNT starter, you're going to put down that every 2 weeks for the next month. And then you can switch to the balance line for the rest of the spring. And then you get through your summer. And then once you get into the fall, because you bought the extra seed, you can put down the same stuff that you bought at the beginning of the year, as long as you keep that seed in a cold, dry place. And then that will give you a perfect fall overseed, as well as some fertilizer that will get you going throughout the rest of the year, right? Give you a nice kickstart back in that way. I think that's the best way, I think, to approach a spring overseed. Obviously, sod helps too. Sod can establish a little quicker. The only danger with sod is overseeding on a newly sodded lawn that's
Hmm.
dead is not really easy.
No.
You're almost better just to rip up the sod and try to sod again, especially if the sod doesn't take and you can pick the pieces up still.
Oh, yeah.
You're just better
Definitely.
to throw it away and try again, because the thatch layer on that sod is just so thick. There's no way you're going to be able to get seed to soil contact that way.
I agree. I agree. No, and you laid out a good plan there for those that are considered if you had to get it done in the spring, but it's just like it's an investment, right? So if you look at it, if you're going to get the most and give yourself the highest probability for success, I just find it hard to justify not doing it. You know what I mean? In the fall. So like to me, it's just like math says do it in the fall. So when all possibilities exist where I can do it in the fall, I'm definitely going to try to do it that. And it's not just because it's the best conditions too. It's just that there's nothing better that finishing it off that year strong and setting yourself up for the spring this year. And I know this has kind of been my first year where you can really start to see that, right? Your grass is just responding quicker than other people's, and you're feeding and all that spoon feeding, it's starting to pay off, which is right, right? So it is an investment though. There's no question, right? It's time and definitely there's some costs associated with whatever options you're putting on it. I like the liquid fertilizers myself. I enjoy that. I know exactly what I'm getting on there. I don't mind going out. I enjoy the process of doing it. It allows me to mix some different things together. So it's always generally when I've been for at least the front yards and both my side yards, but it's still there's nothing you can't beat the quick and easy,
Oh
granular,
yeah.
just throw in the old agrifab. I just actually got mine tweaked up this morning. It was kind of pushing a little hard there, but I got her some WD-40 on it this morning. She's ready to go. It's just like, come on, put 80 pounds in me. Let me go. Let me
Yeah.
spread it around, Dad. Give me a shot. So I feel bad just seeing the old broadcast spreader in there. So I'll probably do a little bit of granular this year, but probably just in the back. How about yourself? Any granular on your side, or all
Yeah,
liquid?
so at the beginning of the year, my back is 15,000 square feet. So that's a lot to
Big
spray.
long.
So my back is going to be kind of a granular liquid hybrid program.
Okay.
Um, I'm hoping that I get a battery. Well, I'm not hoping. I'm going to get a battery powered backpack sprayer so that I don't have to pump
Oh, what are you gonna go
for
with?
the.
Have you decided? That's a pretty big decision.
I've been looking
Of course, you've been
around.
looking, been
Uh,
YouTubing.
yeah. I look everywhere all the time. I look at mowers. I look at it all, and
Me
I
too.
never end up buying any of it. But I
And
look.
well, you know what? That's okay though. I'm waiting for the right deal and the right price, but I like it. Just like, yeah, it's nothing. My wife will come in. She's like, it's February. Why
Yeah,
are you watching lawn videos? Because I was like, well, what better time to get prepared? I'm not going to get
yeah.
prepared in May. You know what I mean? She's like, she comes out and she's like, you're just watching someone cut the grass in February. I'm like, yes, yes, honey, I
Yeah.
am. I don't know what to tell you. Okay, this is happening. It's happening right in front of you, and I'm enjoying it. So if it's okay, but it is, yeah, it
And
is. Some
everybody,
people would say it's a sickness or it's an obsession or hey, you got a lawn problem. It's like, well, you know what? That's okay in the scheme of problems one should have. Having a
yeah,
lawn problem's not so bad. You know
no.
what I mean?
Some people like to do their makeup, some people like to buy nice clothes so they look
Right?
nice. I don't care what I wear. I can be
No.
in my underwear, but if I'm standing on a nice lawn, that's all that
Oh,
matters to me.
just into like barefoot too, walking
Oh
around in that
yeah.
grass, the cool grass. Oh, jeepers. Just thinking that it's just like the old joke, the neighbors looking out the window saying, like, look at that beautiful man in his beautiful yard. No,
Yeah.
they're not saying that. They're definitely not saying that anytime soon. But it's just like there is a certain thing of just like, that satisfaction. I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
It's like you are, your house being your largest investment and the yard being, the biggest geography of that, and like just square foot wise, right? So it just makes sense for us to do that. But you go to some places where it's uncommon, right? Almost like if you have a too well manicured land, it's like, whoa, who are you trying to show off for there? Look at you go there, Mr. Fancy Pants. But I think
Yeah.
like I don't down here in PEI, it's a real like even like all the farms, like everybody really will. It's always been a thing. I think it's probably because it's like a tourist place, so like everybody always took really good care of their lawns for the most part. It's like the old man see is like how he keeps a yard is how a person keeps his life. It's a tiny snapshot into the world, which I don't think is true because there's lots of time my yard was neat, but my life was not in my youth. But anyways, but now
Yeah.
that's a long time ago now. But it's just like it is. It's that first impression, right? So want to make a good one.
Well, and I always think too, it's quantitative, right? Like, I mean, it's you can go out there and you can put down fertilizer and you can wait 4 days and you can see results, right? You
Yeah,
can make results happen right in front of your own eyes. But there's plenty of things in life where you can't change, you can't do anything about. So I think, for people who like, to be able to control things and people who like, to have
yes,
things organized and tidied and clean, it's something that you can very easily control, you can very easily change. It's completely within your hands and your control. And it's rewarding, right? Every time you mow, you step back, as you said, and you go, wow, it looks great. Or you go, oh, it doesn't look so good. But most of the time, hopefully it's the latter. Um,
absolutely.
yeah. But yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that I like it a lot is because every time, every season there's always something to improve on. There's always something to work on. There's always something like this season specifically, I'm really focusing on wedding agents. I've been working with Growforge on something that we can make happen to hopefully help reduce people with their watering because I know that's something that's becoming more of a reality around here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I guess back to what we were talking about earlier is the backyard's going to be granular to liquid hybrid, and then the
Okay.
front and the side are going to be 100% liquid this year. So far the granular, I put a 16 16 16 on the back, and that was a great response from that. Back greened up really fast. I have been putting down some organohume on some of the spots in the back that need a little bit more work. They're a little thinner, and that's been helping as well. But I think I definitely want to try alternating balance line and straight line throughout the summer on the back, just because it's so hot. I think that kind of the spoon feeding during the summer,
Mm-hmm.
because I always run in that problem where it's irrigated, but I don't really want to fertilize because I don't want to push growth at a time of stress.
Yes.
So then by the time like mid-August rolls around or early August rolls around, the lawn's just kind of not really looking as good as it needs to. It's kind of, got kind of like light green, needs a little bit of help, needs with some
Mm-hmm.
food kind of look. So I think maybe, but my front lawn last year, I was really impressed with the way the Growforge products kind of kept that color going.
Oh
And
yeah.
kept it growing. So I really want to try that in the back. And then if I can try some of the wetting agents, the TPA concentrate, and they said they have some other ones available specifically for my soil. I think that would help a lot.
I can't wait to see what you do with that. I'm gonna watch. You're gonna teach me a few things. I haven't really experimented with that, but obviously I'm a big fan of the GrowForge product, so I'll see how you do there. And also, what's their iron? I really enjoy their iron solution. It's not straight line balance. What's their? Trying to think of their iron
Uh,
additive.
is it liquid or granular?
It's liquid. I can't remember
Liquid.
exactly what their brand. Maybe you'll pop it up there, but that's something I
Yeah, I'll
use
pull it up
pretty
here.
regularly too. I think I've used a couple different like I. It is sometimes about how she looks, right? So that you just cannot beat that dark cream, especially with that Kentucky blue. It's almost, just it just pops, right? So I do find that I try to use it within reason, but I'm doing a little mini application every 2 weeks of that, you know, right from probably middle of May till gets too warm, and then again in the fall.
Yeah, yeah,
There's nothing that, and everybody's like, "What's your secret sauce?" I mean, there's no secret sauce. I mean, yeah, it's like iron obviously just does green everything up. But I was thinking too, I was going to ask you now. So, like, you like to look up stuff. You mentioned about your spreaders and stuff, and I know you've
yeah,
mentioned a few things about the mowers and stuff. And in mountain bike, it's your what's the number of bikes? N plus one. So there's never enough, right? So you're always looking for
yeah.
one more bike, just like mowers. All right. So, obviously I admittedly have a mower problem. I don't have 15,000 in the backyard like you. I got 13,000 my whole yard. I use three push mowers to get that done. I have a Time Master for the backyard, like that thick stripes. I have a HRN for the slopes on the side, and I have my good old lawn boy with the Honda engine up front that does my workhorse. So I have those three. But
Okay, it
again,
was
in
the
the interest of
lawnmower purchased at Canadian Tire?
La Home Depot, the
Oh,
original,
okay,
the
okay.
107 36, like the GCB 160, just like the very basic, no self-propelled, just a push. It's light, it's got the white wheels, it's just Toro family. And I used to use lawn boys back in the golf course days. So
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
little partial to the old green and the lawn boys, and we were essentially the lawn boys back then. But anyway, so the lawn boy, I take good care of that old girl, and she probably gets a little extra shine, and than even some of the other mowers do. But that's she's been with me for a long time. So I think, well, it's only got 6 seasons on her now, but it's like one of those things. The deck will be the first thing to go. So anyway,
Yeah.
so those that's my existing lineup, but it's like, yeah, it's not enough, not enough. Like it's not big enough for like a zero term, but like I've been peaking. I think I mentioned this before. I've been peaking, and I want you to help me try to convince my wife here, because it is a price
Okay.
tag up here in Canada. But like the Ferris FW15, I have the Time Master 30 inches, and that makes a big difference. But it's 32, Wade. 32.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 2 inches, right? 2 inches matters. That's
Yeah.
that's like
Exactly.
that's a whole different ballgame, whole separate league, dropping an extra 2 inches, right? So basically,
Two
and I've
two
been looking at
inches is bigger than average, right?
right. Well,
Yeah.
I
See.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I guess it really just matters in how good you cut. Really, I guess
Yeah.
I would say, but like I wouldn't know for sure. But I think generally speaking, I think probably we slightly below that one. But the 32, I'm telling you, the 32, it's calling me, and it's got like I think the Honda 390 cc's, and it's just like it's got a commercial feel to it. So all in way, 5 grand. Am I going to
Well,
get my money back out of this? No. Am I slowing on the trailer and going to return it? No. Okay, but this is about me and my quality of life, and my joy that I get in life, and you know, I think that if I work hard, then you should be able to play hard. So at the end of the year, if you get a bonus, I've been just been sizing up the old fares, but I just don't know about their dealer network. So have you heard anything about that? Do you know anybody that's using those or?
Um, I don't know anybody in specifically in Canada that uses a lot of Ferris mowers. We had a couple when I was at the golf course, but most of our stuff was all Toro. We had a couple
Yeah.
Ferris mowers we used for mowing the rough areas like the bush, especially
Yes.
on the lake edges, pond
Mm-hmm.
edges. That was my favorite. Wading into ponds with a trimmer was always fun. But see that extra 2 inches, say over a mow, might save you like what 15 minutes.
Right.
But every two
Over a whole
days, if that's
summer.
15 minutes, that's like an hour a week. Over a
Yeah.
whole summer, that's like an extra 30 hours that you get to spend, with your wife and your
My
family.
goodness. Now you're spinning it.
That's what you need that way. So then you can say, well, I have to get it because I need to spend more time. I can't get out of the lawn fast enough. I want to do it, but I can't. And if I get this extra, a little bit of cut, then that will get me done just as much faster, and then I'll be ready to go.
I like it. So it's actually for her. I'm doing it for her. I'm doing this for
Exactly.
her, right? Okay.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
like this. And it's like all I want to do is just give you attention. That's it, right? And I
Yeah.
just want more time. Okay. So I'm gonna try that. I'm not sure how far I'll get. She is pretty used to my shenanigans there, but so that would be kind of my current situation. Obviously, I got other dream mowers, but if you were had, money's not a budget's no issue, and you're gonna like could have any mower right now. What's what's way putting in the driveway?
Definitely a time master would be the first one, probably.
Yeah.
Um, but then maybe a real master. Um,
Mm,
if I went to that low cut, that would be an
mm-hmm.
option. Um, or the the grandstand toros. What are they called? The uh
I can see it.
multi-force. The
Mm-hmm.
multi-force. Those
Mm-hmm.
those are pretty cool considering that with a lawn like mine, I think I would be able to cut it with a multi-force in like 25 minutes probably compared to
Yeah.
my old John Deere's can be a little slow sometimes. But I think mainly, I kind of my backyard is completely wide open, perfect for
Yeah.
the John Deere. It's great. My side and my front are a little tight, especially when you're trying to mow stripes.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room to turn around without kind of bumping into the gardens, and I think that's what I'm more looking at a 32 or a 30-inch lawnmower for is just to get a better because I'm trying to reduce ruts and compaction
Oh, I
and
know, right?
there's only two ways I can mow that front lawn without without having to do like a 18 point Austin Powers
Yeah.
turn
Yeah.
in the tiny little hallway. So I'm really thinking that might be a better solution to that. I'm just not a fan of how heavy the ride-ons are. They're so heavy.
I know. And when you turn and stuff like that, well, that is good lineup. So the Time Master, obviously, I'm rocking that. That I did hear. I don't know if it's just truth or not, but someone said that they upped their warranty to 3 years. So I'm not sure, but I uh I love my Time Master. It's a bit of a princess. I clean it diligently after everyone. So that's my baby, and I do have it with the Toro striping kit, and it does save me a lot of time. The real master, yeah, I mean that's no joke, right? So the investment side, I mean, just even the a half decent used one, you see them in the States all the time for like 2,500, 3 grand seems to be,
Yeah.
but not as much there. But those grandstand, they're just cool. Like you
Yeah.
just jump on the back and just like it just seems like flying, right? And
They were
just
always
like
fun too. You could pop wheelies in them pretty easy and do
absolutely.
donuts and stuff like that. That was always fun when I worked for the
Exactly.
lawn care company.
Yeah, exactly. Hope they're not listening there, but I mean the that was part of the job, right? You Lagunian and you just like, making nice turns, getting it up on the trailer and stuff, and
Yeah.
learning how to back up with the with the trailer and stuff behind you. It's all good skills that you can use, you
Oh
know?
yeah. I mean, we all know if you worked at a golf course, you've all done something in a Toro Workman,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
a Gator that would
Oh
probably
yeah.
wasn't OSHA approved. But it was, a fun time at 6:30 in the morning before the course opened. And
Oh yeah, we had the old Cushman, had a little 3-speed standard on the side there. Like,
yeah.
used to love that thing, right? So you coming down the hill and everybody be doing donuts wherever
Oh
you
yeah.
could on the golf course and just whipping around and yeah, golf course was a lot of fun. And you stay in fairly because you're walking 8 hours a day too, right? So it's just and being outside with the farmer stands. You roll into the beach after that and be like, dude, what happened? You know, because it'd be like just like as dark can be. And I mean like white as in like hard to look at, dude. You are like there's something wrong. You're so white.
Oh
Like
yeah.
so but just and you know what? Wouldn't care, just rocking it. That's right.
Oh yeah.
That's right,
Yeah.
ladies. That's right.
And
It's a farmer
you gotta have
stand.
the you gotta have the sock tan too. That's what makes it
Oh,
even better. If you got the high socks, yeah.
exactly. Exactly. But I mean, you got to keep their feet dry and stuff, right? I mean, you can't be going home with like, wet and your feet, if you can't keep them healthy and dry and clean and stuff, jobs, it's no fun out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You see the
And I
guys now,
mean,
they're doing those little what are the Ryan Norris is always pumping them, his lawn shoes. What is it, the name of the
oh,
company?
the Cujo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use the whatever the sneakers that goes from my everyday wear to like backup and then eventually make it over to the long game, right? So that's their last kick at the can,
Yeah.
their last season. It's just like, we had a great run and we're just gonna finish this out together, me and you, one more year. And by the end of that year, it's just like the soul's falling down and they're just like
Yeah.
there's nothing left of them. And you're just like one more year. And she's like, "Come on, Dad, I could do it. I got one more year." And just like, I don't know, son. Looking pretty raggedy there at the end of the year, but
And anything
maybe
white on
we'll
the
see.
shoe is stained green from the grass.
Oh, right. Now I don't have any. I'm old enough to be rocking some New Balance
Yeah.
dad shoes out in the yard and stuff like that. Actually, I do like some New Balance shoes every once in a while, but yeah, no, I just it's whatever will work, right? Because it is an important. You need that good traction, and you need to be comfortable, and you can't be getting wet and stuff like that. So I definitely want to make sure I got a good set of shoes when I'm going out there in that yard, right? There's nothing worse than you're on the hill and you're sliding or something, or
Oh
it's
yeah.
dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing you could say. You said you had a hill in the back, don't you?
Well, on the side, yeah, a fairly steep one.
Oh, okay. Well, would you use the Ferris up and down there, or would you
Probably not. I find the Tom Master even like it'll do it. I'd have
kind
to
of
show you
crap
sometime.
walks?
So it's steep enough where it would just be like it wouldn't. I mean, you don't really stripe with the fair, so yeah, it would do it. It would definitely do it. I was thinking more just alternating with the Time Master at back,
Okay.
just on my flat stuff, and just more or less because I just kind of want it. I mean, it's not going to
Yeah.
happen this year. We'll see. You got to order now for next year anyway. So I think there's a
Okay.
dealer, but well, a man can dream. So I'll dream about that. And there's, obviously there'll come a point in 5 or 10 years where I'll want to sit down more. But until that day, I like the quality of cut in a push mower is just like I don't care if it's 2023, 1979, whatever it is you're using, a push mower, just that consistency I think is second to none. And I think
Oh
the
yeah.
overall precision, it just does. You can't beat a good push mower with a sharp blade that's running good,
Yeah.
and you just know, right? I don't know. I'm a big stickler with sharp blades. That's my one thing. I know you mentioned it's hard to get yours in on and off with because you have to. It's a bit of a process, but the old, lawn boy, just quick flip around the side, one
Yeah.
bolt off, and then just get a couple grinds with the old file, and it's just like you can just see it when it goes out there. It's just such an even, no brown, no nothing, just like straight across. It's almost like the grass is like saying thank you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Whereas you walk by and you see someone with the, brown to the top, and you're just like, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I was like, well, maybe it's because you haven't sharpened your blade in 6 years, man. I don't know. That could be something to do
Yeah.
with it. You know what I mean? Probably because you haven't changed I mean, some of those mowers you don't change the oil anymore, which I don't even know if I could handle that anyway.
Yeah.
But sure, I guess you don't have to change the oil, but I'd be changing it anyway. But yeah, you wonder. It's like, oh, I can't believe it didn't start. It's like, I seen that thing outside in January. Of
Yeah.
course, it's not going to start. What are you talking about?
It was parked
Start.
outside under 6 feet of snow
Exactly.
in a
So you don't
snowdrift.
change the oil. It's got the old gas in it. It's been parked outside, and you sitting there and can't believe it can't start, getting frustrated.
Yeah.
That poor
Yeah.
thing,
It's very
you
true
know.
too when you're talking about the riding mowers. Like I don't know what it is, but they just don't seem to be able to pull the same quality of cut
No.
as a push mower can. And I don't know if it's the engines are undersized and the blades just can't spin fast enough because the engine has to turn the
Mm.
wheels too when you're driving. Like I don't know what the deal is. I know
I
that
think
when
it's
I looked at the engine specifically on the Time Master, it was almost as big as the engine that's on my John Deere, which
really,
is
the new
crazy to me.
223
Yeah.
Statum. Maybe it's like just the probably the surface area of the deck, and that happened to be in a consistent like grade, right? So I think that
Yeah.
that would definitely be part of it. The larger deck have to remain consistent, and if there's anything, but it's a lot of
I
the
think this
turning.
Yeah, and I think the speed too, like some of the
You
zero turns
definitely.
can go too fast where it really shouldn't be cutting at full speed. Um or like it doesn't it doesn't leave a good cut at the full speed. Like I
No,
had mentioned earlier, I think I pretty much have to do a double cut every single time with my mower.
I know.
Especially in May with all those stupid seed heads and stalks come up
Oh, I know. Where
and
do those
they're
come from, right? They're like, what is going on with my grass? Are you having babies? They're like,
yeah.
what is going on here? But it gets through it
Oh yeah.
finally and stuff like that. The seed heads go away, but then it gets dry right after that, right? So,
Well, and I always comment, I was commenting last year to my sister about, I was like, the grass, it just doesn't have good texture. And she's like, what are you talking about? It looks perfectly fine. I'm like, no, it's just like the texture is just not good. And then I recorded a video of me like rubbing it with my hand. And I was like, see this? Like, see how all these stalks are like sticking to my hand? I'm like, this is just not like it's not barefoot grass. The stalks, they're just too thick, and there's all those seed heads, and it just kind of looks off. Not end of May, late May, when all those seed heads pop up, that's when it gets a little frustrated there, obviously.
because it just kind of come off that like nice period too, right? So you're like,
Yeah.
it is what I wanted, yeah. And then it kind of goes, oh, so you just got to hold on to those moments when she's peaking, right? And then we're gonna blink and it's gonna be over again. So it's like, I'm gonna take advantage, but I'm gonna set some goals this year. It's like, I want, as far as I want to thicken up. I want to introduce a couple new cultivars in there. There's a period in the back. I think my wife might want me to do a little gardening. So I might, oh, it's a tough thing for me, but she's like, she really wants me to do a garden. And it's just like, and I don't want to do a garden. And it's just like, the grass is so nice out there. And she does drive a good bargain, and she's really good to me. And I'm very lucky. And she makes a beautiful sandwich. And I just like, so I'm just like, I'm down to like tearing up some grass out back. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And I'm walking to the Home Depot, and I'm like, obviously I've done it before. You can get some to till up the earth pretty good. If you want to do it right, you got to get down there,
Yeah.
right? So that's what I'm just kind of struggling. I'm just like, but I don't. I don't want to sacrifice any of my
Yeah.
grass. What can't we just buy the tomatoes, honey? Can we just
Yeah.
No, but so that's where I'm at. So it does have to happen because I definitely don't want to get to, the summer and be like, well, I did want a garden and you said I was going to get one. No, you don't want one. I'm going to be here in that period. So I'm gonna, one way or another, I got to get something like a couple cucumbers and tomatoes. Something's got to get planted in the ground out there. So
What?
that's gonna my late spring project, and she's, as long as I can get it going, get everything like just hilled up and rode up and just ready to go, and then she'll kind of take over from there. So that'll be my next thing. Although there's just, I'm dreading it, Wade.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like, but I put so much work into that, like 25 square feet,
Yeah.
and then it's just, anyways.
It's yeah, I know. But at least when you rip up the grass, the soil underneath will be amazing because of all the
It
work
will
you put
be,
into the
right?
ground.
Exactly. She'll be like, "Oh my God, these are the best tomatoes ever." Like, I know. It's
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
soil. All starts with the
E-
soil.
And then what you got to do is you got to do what I'm doing this year is you got to build a raised planter beds. Like instead of having like, annuals on your front porch in those
Yeah,
planter boxes, you just got to put like, a little bit of grass, little
I
grass
like that
blocks, is
idea.
cut
I
it
like
all
that
up and
idea.
then put some fertilizer on it, and you can put a little pinwheel in one or a flamingo in the other if you want to. But
I love it. I can't wait to
yeah,
see your videos on that, and you'll have to name them perhaps and stuff. But like, what are you gonna like? You're gonna, it's gonna be a whipper cut, or you're gonna be out there with the old precision, but barber scissors, or how you gonna take care of that?
I don't know. I was thinking about that while I was building it. I was like, whipper cut works, but like, oh, it's
If
just
you're
like,
good with the whippersnipper, and I'm assuming because you spent some time on the golf course that you are skilled at the art form of the
yeah.
whipper, because certain people can't. You got no business
Oh
using it.
no.
They're like, they're just like, just look, reel is flying and they're
Yeah.
burning everything, and just like they can't hold it. But
Or they go to hit the bump feed in the middle of the grass and put a giant circle in the middle of
put down the whippersnipper. Put it down. Put,
yeah.
you're gonna hurt yourself over there, because there is, like, I don't use an edger. I just use I'm just patient with the
Yeah, I
with
just
the
flipped
with the
my
whipper, right? Yeah,
trimmer up on his
exactly, and
back
just
and
kind of go along and stuff. Although there is, I like a nice deep edge there. I've never really had an issue. I've always just, even along my driveway, just precision whipping. You
yeah.
don't really need an edger, but you see some of the guys with the edger in that, that 1 or 2 inches, and when it's fresh and it looks good.
Oh
Don't
yeah.
get me wrong, and you can get one for, I don't know, $1.50 or something, probably all in, delivered on Amazon. So that's something I've been thinking about. I was like, but it looks okay, and
I
I
mean,
don't
I'm
know
sure you
if I
probably did
need
it
one.
back when you worked at the golf course. You had to trim
Yeah,
bunker
we
faces,
definitely
bunker
definitely did,
edges.
but it was more with a spade or something, right? Like,
Oh, okay. We always flip trim them. So you trim around the edges, flip the trimmer upside down,
yes,
so and then go around. And I
yeah,
used to be able to do, I think we had 60 somewhat bunkers on that course, and I would do them all in 3 hours. So
that's too fast, man. Then you got to do it 3 hours every day. So it's like 3.5.
yeah,
The
yeah,
quickest you got to do. Remember, because there was worse. Like, you go out and be a crew of 4 or 5, and you'd be like, dude, if you don't slow down, I swear to God, I'm going to pee in something you own, right? Because
yeah,
it's like, something's happened to you at lunchtime today. We are getting you. Because like, there was one guy, and I don't know what he used to say. He used to come. I don't even think there was Red Bull then, but like, he used to just like go nonstop. And maybe we always thought like he was kind of an odd dude, that he was into something that would give him extra energy. I don't really know,
yeah,
not judging, but a normal man can't go like 8 hours straight without even as much as a breath or a water drink. So, anyways, you'd be stuck with this guy, and you're like, oh man, what am I gonna do? I'm with freaking Fast Eddie here, and he'd just be
yeah.
like driving it. Anyways, maybe now I'm like Fast Eddie, but hmm,
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get stuff done. You just gotta, but other times.
that's right. While we can, because it is, time's a wasting away. Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? After the last couple of years, I think that makes it more than ever, you just got to be appreciative of what you got and be grateful and kind of be humble and stuff and if just be grateful for your own little plot of land and the grass that
Yeah.
grows on it and stuff like that and take pride in taking care of that, right? Because never know
Yeah.
when
Yeah,
the
exactly.
world's just going to go sideways again.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Do you have any advice? So I was gonna ask you before we go on to that actually,
Hmm.
what was, what would you say for a beginner was something that really helped open your eyes into moving into that next step from, my lawn is completely falling apart. I can't do anything about, like, what was that first thing where you said, I know what I'm doing. I think I can take care of this. And it kind of went off from there.
Hmm.
What
I
advice would
mean,
you give?
yeah. So so I've always been regular mowing, so that was never the thing. So let me just give me ponder that for a second. So when I was ready to take that to the next level, I guess it's when I had done my homework, like that. So like I had spent some time in February and I had prepared myself for it. I'd understand about, some of the nutrients that my soil needed and what each individual nutrient. So I think I just became a more of a student of what it is. So like it's YouTube. So as far as
Yeah.
advice and stuff like that, just find a couple good creators like yourself. And there's 10 or 12 guys that I really enjoy. I go on some of their live streams too, and I just like learning from them. And I just like taking it all in. And so I think if there's one advice is like be a student, is like learn. There's not don't be intimidated, obviously, because at first you're like you have people talking like it's this molecular science, and I guess in some respects it is, but don't be intimidated by that. There's some basic nutrients that your soil needs. Understand by taking things like a soil test what your soil needs, and then you can work on giving your soil what it needs. So again, I'd say wait. So as next level is just being okay with understanding that I don't have all the answers. There's people out there smarter than me. I'm going to go learn from them and take that back to my yard. So that was the first thing I did. And then ultimately, it's just like I just set a goal. It's like, you know what? I want the best yard in the street. That's it. This is happening. I'm committing to this, right? So I'm a finance guy, so I had a budget too, and I have a budget, and I stuck with it, right? So I said, okay, I'm going to have X number of dollars for my fertilizers this year, and I kind of planned it out to the winter, and I bought ahead of time. You know what I mean? So like for a newbie, that's a lot of work and stuff like that because I kind of come in ready to roll.
Yeah.
But I'll end right back at where I started off. I just educated myself, and then the bug bit me. And it's like, hey, I can do this. There's with some basic knowledge, I can go out there and make some meaningful difference. And like anything, that first little bit of results, right? As soon
Yeah.
as you get that, and your grass starts to come in, those little babies start coming up. It's getting thick and it's getting right. You're like, oh, I want more of that. I want more of those
Yeah.
results.
And it's all for, we say, we do it, but it's all for that, that party or that person walking down the street or that neighbor that comes out and says, "Hey, your grass looks good." That's why we do it in the end.
And
100%. And it doesn't matter, if there's other reasons, or that really is the reason. It's that validation, that instant validation that you did something and you made something better and you made a difference, right?
absolutely, absolutely. You can say it's all of it. Yeah, there's a lot of good benefits, but I absolutely want when you're rolling up my block, you say that your lawn looks amazing. I'm gonna say you're darn right it does. No, I don't say that. I say thank you.
Yeah.
Very so polite. And then you get some of the people that are like, I know you're putting something on there. And I'm like, yes, I'm putting a lot of iron.
Yeah.
And this is like, you want to do a soil test here and stuff. So there's some haters and out there too, right? So you meet up at certain times of year with some of the neighborhoods, and then some are like, "Oh, you're the guy,
Yeah.
that does the lawn and does it." It's like, yeah, that's me. I do cut my lawn pretty regularly. That's it, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, just to kind of add on what you said, I think that not to bitch about the Scots program for another hour here, but I think that is one of the downfalls of, kind of the Scots program is they've taught a lot of people, just put this down, don't worry about what's in it. Just put it down 3 times a year. You don't need to know
Hmm.
what's in it. It's that simple. And in the end, I mean, it's almost kind of like medicine in a way, where you should never eat anything or do anything if you don't know what's in it or what it does. And it's the same thing with your lawn. You wouldn't eat something if you didn't know if it was poisonous or not. So you wouldn't put something on your lawn if you didn't know. You need to know the cause and effect of everything you're doing, or else you will never be able to get the correct results for what you're looking for. And I think that is kind of, the Scots program is very good and the Scots products are good as long as you know what you need and you're buying the right products. Um, but yeah, I think that is kind of one of the downfalls of the way that Scots kind of approach lawn care and kind of,
Yeah.
in a sense, it almost kind of dulled people into thinking that they don't need to know. It's not important for them to know. When it
Throw her
still is
down.
very
Just throw her
important.
down. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. And there's obviously I like and I started out and learned a lot and no, would never say anything bad about it, but there's you get to a point where that off the shelf offering is just not gonna cut it. Right. So
Yeah.
like in your maybe your first bag, sure. Before you've done the soil testing, you really have no idea. But I know for myself, I was surprised how much phosphorus and potassium were in my soil. When I got my first soil test, and it was like high plus plus. And I remember talking to the scientist at the lab, and she's really helpful. And I was like, help me understand this. And she goes, well, it's part of its new construction. Part of it's there's a certain composition of the soil here in PEI and stuff like that. And I said, well, I was just normally start out the year with something light on nitrogen and already start out with like a 10-10-10 or something, just a general something for the up, something for the down, something for the out kind
Yeah.
of thing. And
There you go. You're back.
old man problems, you know how it
No,
is.
that's all good.
Got to get my teenage daughter up here to help me. She's like, "You're on a podcast. What are you doing?" So I told a couple people that are interested in seeing this because I've been kind of spreading the word about what you're doing too. So I've been using you in some of your videos to get other people into it too. So I'm
That's
sending a
awesome.
few links out there. It's like, oh, here's someone, it's not just going to throw down a bunch of, there's no such thing as pre-emergent up here.
Oh
No such
yeah.
thing as, throwing down some
Unless you want to throw down,
240.
8,000 pounds of corn gluten and hope that that works.
Oh
Which,
yeah, right. And I did that once, the liquid stuff. I'll never do it again. But the uh the Scott stuff, the weed and feed. I remember
yeah,
when I was like, oh my God, they got weed and feed here. I was like, woo! Jump in the store and I'm doing the math, right? And I'm okay with math. And I'm like, you won't be able to see the grass. Like if I put
yeah.
enough of that down, like it'll just be these great big things,
I'm
right?
like,
And
I'm like, is this how this pre-emergent works? So I text Ryan DeMay and I'm like, hey Ryan, do you ever put down corn gluten before? And he goes, oh yeah, you don't want to touch that stuff. That goes down to like 15 pounds per thousand. And I'm like,
right.
okay, this is what I thought.
I thought I did the math wrong, or I was second guessing myself, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, I'm gonna put like 50 bags of this stuff or something like that, and it's like at 30 bucks a pop. And maybe if the timing's perfect, you get some sort of a benefit from it. But yeah, so forget about it. We're
Oh yeah.
we're gonna stick with as long as the Fiesta suppliers keep popping that stuff out. And did I think there's Fiesta down the States, but I heard it's got the good stuff in it.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
think
they
it's the
have
same.
Dithiopyr 2,4-D Fiesta mix
Oh, is that what it
down
is?
there.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think so.
really. I thought it was just some more active, but they just add in some 2,4-D. Okay.
Because I know, I
Hmm.
mean, Killex is 2,4-D and dithiopyr together.
Same thing,
Um,
right?
and then
And that's you can
yeah,
still like there's still places I'm sure that you can get access to that stuff, but at this point, yeah, you can't be. It's cheating and stuff, and there's a reason why it's banned. I get that, but yeah, like you still like there's lots of people that's like try to ship the stuff in and stuff like that, but like Health Canada is watching. Like it's,
yeah.
do you know what I
Well,
mean? It's
and again, some of the reason why some of these chemicals got banned is because of improper usage, right? People
yes,
didn't
there's always
understand
someone that ruins it for somebody, everybody,
and they
right?
kind of ruined it for everybody. So that's another thing that I try to do here is hey, make sure you're using it right. You know how to do it because that's going to
Yeah,
always lead to a better result, and then hopefully we can keep this using this properly will stop some of the adverse environmental impacts, and we can keep it useful for everybody, and they're not going to take it away, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better. You're just rolling down the street in that neighborhood and you see that guy. He's got no business not having a shirt on, wearing those tight shorts and just
Oh yeah.
rocking it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
love that. He's like at an age where he don't care anymore. It don't matter what anybody thinks, and he's out there and he's doing his thing in his yard, and it's just like this. He's like, I do not care, and for an hour a day, that guy's free. And he's probably get eaten by our Canadian mosquitoes and stuff like that. But
Oh yeah.
that's
Well, I mean, I've seen I work for a lawn care company, and I'm not going to call out what company did it, but it was a pretty big reputable international lawn care company, and they were spraying I think there had to be like a 60, 70 kilometer per hour winds. A thunderstorm was rolling in. It was like
uh,
mid-August. You could see the rain coming down. It was coming. You could feel the guy rolls up in his truck, pulls out his hose, and just starts spraying the weed killer on the lawn. And you're like, what is going to happen when that rain comes? All
I
that
know.
you just sprayed is going to wash straight into the sewer.
Hmm.
And now your customer is going to be unhappy. You're going to have to come back here, so you're going to be unhappy. And
Yeah.
everything that all that stuff just went into the sewer. And now, that's the
Yeah.
one other thing that's going to get banned just because you aren't being responsible with how you're using it, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure the franchise owner wouldn't be thrilled with the employee that did that, but it's like good labor is hard to get sometimes, right? So you never really
Yeah.
know. They're rolling out just happy to have someone who shows up most days, but yeah, a little common sense way goes a long way, not
Oh
just in
yeah.
grass in all kinds of things. But
Even I
sometimes
always
be
think
a
it's a
thing.
good idea when I put down a granular, I normally give the sprinklers, 15 minutes on every single sprinkler head in my
Oh yeah,
backyard. And then that at least gets that granular at least kind of, stuck, set down in the grass, even if it's gonna rain. If it's not a thunderstorm, if it's just gonna rain, I just want to make sure it's not gonna wash away. It's all stuck down there, starting to kind of, just dissolve before that rainfall comes.
yeah. That is actually a good idea. I try to time mine, with rain in the next day. Usually is what I do,
Yeah.
but you don't want to get too much on it. But there's nothing worse than, yeah, you can't just throw it down there and not rein it in.
Yeah.
Gonna
Yeah,
burn it and
exactly.
everything. There's nothing worse. It's like, oh, what do I do? I burnt my grass and stuff like that, or or it's funny. You'll see them, the new people. You'll have when you have the lines where
Oh
you have
yeah.
the what are the cheap
Stripes.
spreaders, and that always shows the lines up. So that's always a little thing. It's like, what do I do? It's like, well, it's that one spreader, but won't mention any names, but it does it the same thing. It gets caught in the wheels there, but that's always kind of a tradition in spring too. You're like, oh, look at
Yeah.
those lines. Those are
There
nice.
was actually another big lawn care company in my neighborhood, and last spring, I think it was the same guy that did the entire neighborhood. And I don't know what was going on with his spreader, but it was almost like he did all the lawns with the edge guard on
No, my goodness.
because
Yeah.
he striped every single lawn in that neighborhood. Like I think he did 10 or 12 lawns and they were all striped. And you could tell that they all had the same pattern. And you're like, okay, the same guy did all of these, and they you could see the flag in the front lawn, right? And I was like,
Oh
oh, it's just
no.
embarrassing. You got that flag in the front
I
lawn
would
with your
like
company logo on it.
never advertise there. Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I guess to end things off, we always do the successes and failures on here. Uh try to teach people that, you can make mistakes and mistakes are okay. Do you have a specific any sort of failure that you can remember that you did at one point that
Mm.
you learned from?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to really love cutting my grass short. I used to think that it just looks so tight and I just cut it more. And I was good enough and young enough where I would just outwork them. I didn't care if I had to cut it every second day and stuff like that. But really one of the failures is not understanding that that was creating an environment for weeds, and that was really preventing some of my turf from really getting a chance to thrive and be successful. So my failure again is just not educating myself and not spending the time to really understand what the ideal growing seasons or conditions would be. So success, I think I'm going to go with, like everything. I think life is a negotiation, and I remember when I got with my wife and I realized, and she didn't tell me this initially. Should have. She told me afterwards that she was allergic to grass, and I'm just like, honey, you got
Oh,
this should have come out before. You know what I mean? Like we should have had this conversation before. You knew what you were getting into. So, and it was rough, for the first years, like you'd have to shut the windows and I'd be showering stuff like that, and I'd be doing everything. And so so the successes was finding a common ground. So what we decided is we had a schedule where I would wait for certain conditions, and I would do it when maybe just try to be a little more sensitive to the fact that maybe that was going to impact her reading. So I think my success would be is good communication. So
yeah.
now we've reached a point where she just lets me go mow, and she's happy, and maybe she's a little stuffed up, but she knows when I come in that I'm going to be in a great mood and I'm going to be willing to help. And if she needs, I'll just do whatever I can to help her out. So failures cut too low, not understanding and doing the education. Success is just learning how to communicate and to cooperate with the other members of my household and make sure that my hobby wasn't going to impact their life. And we could both get some fun out of it.
And then again, now that if you go get that Ferris mower, that helps impact everybody's happy. You're
That's what I'm
happy.
saying, Ferris. If you like, you got to hit me up here. Like,
Yeah.
I will get this old fella out and do a YouTube video for that for sure. But it is for her. It's
Yeah.
for her.
Yeah.
This mower is for you, honey. It's for you.
And
Anyways,
Ferris,
I'll work on that. So, how about you? What's your success and failures, babe?
um, you know, uh, well, I think I talked about this in the last episode. Getting a little lazy last fall, I think was my biggest failure, and I'm kind of eating that this spring. Um, you know, as I said, I work outside, and obviously in landscaping and deck building, it is a seasonal business. And when that fall comes, not only is that prime lawn season time, but that's also prime deck building season. And everything's kind of coming to an end all at the same time, and it can be really busy. So I kind of, let the lawn go a little bit, let some things kind of slide that I probably shouldn't have. I didn't put down any fertilizer on my back lawn in October, which was a huge mistake. I did the front and the side, but I just, by the time I was ready to put it down, the snow was coming within a few days, and I just didn't even bother. So I'm definitely, feeling that this spring. But again, I think another one is just not understanding. As you said, education is key. And this season I'm really trying, especially with new stuff. I want to start trying, as you said, it's not really a science in a certain extent, but in another extent it is a science.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to help see what's best. So I'm gonna, start doing some testing and start trying to spread a little more and see what I can do to help people. So one of the successes I think of this season will be all of that testing. I'm really excited to see how that's going to work out, and I think that will also help. Growforge is very excited about it. They want to see it happen. I think it's going to make great content, and it can also help show people, right? You know, I get a lot of people. I had one nasty comment last year about of me talking about elite grass cultivars and buying, you know, elite grass seed compared to the Scott stuff. And the comment was said something along the lines of how everybody doesn't get free seed sent to them and can afford to put down these elite cultivars all the time. But you know, I want to prove to people that there is a difference between these two.
I like it.
And it's noticeable. So yeah, I think
Love
failure
that.
maybe, you
That's
know,
that's a
get,
good one, Wade. That's the good success. And I'll tell you what, I'm enjoying your journey there too, and I'll be tuning in as you do some of those test plots and stuff this summer. And yeah, I'm excited, and thanks very much for having me on. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat again and keep it. We'll look forward to following your journey through the spring and seeing your lawn evolve and get better.
yeah, awesome. And you too. Maybe I'll have to have you back on sometime and get an update on how everything's going on your end.
All right. Well, you know where to find me.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
All right. See you, Wade.
Bye.
The Great Creek North podcast is written and hosted by Wade Murray. You can find Great Creek North on Instagram, Facebook, and on YouTube. We have great lawn tips coming out, new videos every week, plus a new podcast episode every month. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast on whatever podcast platform you're on so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking for more great lawn tips, make sure you go find us on YouTube, or you can check us out on our website, greatcreeklawncare.ca.